Kolkata, Mr. Snehashishur, and all the other respected professors. President of Press Club Kolkata, and all the other respected dignitaries present over here. I have got this opportunity to introduce one of the very famous names in the field of journalism and mass communication, not only in this state but outside of this state also, Professor Dr. Soumendranath Bera, sir. He is a renowned academician in the entire Eastern India, highly familiar almost in all other universities across the country. An alumnus of University of Calcutta, Dr. Bera presently is associated as Professor and Head of Department of Journalism and Mass Communication in his alma mater. An erudite personality, Dr. Bera has served more than 3.5 decades in academics and research activities. His outstanding academic brilliance and reach to the grassroots level of society was reflected through his works not only as a professor but also as an honorable member of Purshura Legislative Assembly of West Bengal, a former Minister of State in the Department of Information and Broadcasting during the glorious 34 years of left-front government's ruling in the state of West Bengal. Dr. Bera's contribution to the development of his assembly was also spectacular and highly praiseworthy. His acumen in journalism education has reflected through his numerous publications in the form of research papers, articles, features and columns and books. He is associated with many universities as an honorable member of Board of Studies and also as a member of the DRC. He is also associated with the Department of Mass Communication of St. University Kolkata since the very onset. Today, we are privileged to have him with us as a resource person who will delight the audience and dignitaries present over here with his insightful lecture on a specific aspect of development journalism. Thank you, sir, for being with us and your kind presence and willingness to be here. Over to you, sir. And I'd like to take this opportunity to request our Honorable Dean of Faculty of Arts and Social Studies, Dr. Achut Chetan, sir, to gift this plant to our respected guest, Dr. Soumendranath Bera, sir. Yes, sir, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I thank Press Club Kolkata, especially Mr. Snehashishur, sir, my senior in the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, and St. Xavier's universities for inviting me, and Unicef also, definitely. And this collaborative program on faculty development program, normally, I think the unique part of this program is partners. St. Xavier's University, a renowned higher institute of learning, Kolkata Press Club, and Unicef. This combination is, I think, the most important part of this program. So thank you, everybody. And also Professor Dean for this beautiful presentation. And Professor Shmashur. So most of you, personally want to meet. So it's a privilege on my part. The privilege to take part in this program, not right. And our program today is a topic of discussion. So faculty development program, that's we are all experienced teachers, most of you I suppose. So the topic is, you see, that was my suggestion, partly. There is not development journalism. It was my subject in MA. At that time it was not really developed at all. But so I gave that point to Snash, just please frame a topic. Development journalism in perspectives of rights issue. I think it is, if not difficult, but a clumsy something. Quite justifiably, because the concept is, now the point is, development journalism, development communication and development journalism. There is a subtle difference. I'm not going into that. All of you know that. But so far as development journalism is concerned, there are two parts. I think that is department. What is development? I can refer easily to the subject as brief intervention. It's a beautiful intervention. I know that economics is his subject. So, what is development and how journalism is related to that practice? What is journalism? I'm not going into that. We don't need to go into that. But the question is, how rights? Rights is always citizen-centric something. So citizens' rights. And the question is, is development a right? Definitely, there are many subjects. The interesting part of this topic is, it is open to many interpretations. You can't define development, thankfully, conclusively. That's the best part of the story. So it's a process. It develops. It develops. And concept grows with the subject. And also interpretation. We have scope to. Now, is development right? Definitely right. You see that declaration on the right to development. There is a declaration document, the United Nations, 1986. It is not formally part of human rights, but a separate documents broadly, 1948, Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That's an old document, and UNESCO or UN bodies, they at different times adopted documents aiming at developing the concept, definitely. So we should not stick to that 1948 document only. So 1986 Declaration of the United Nations, formal document, it accepts, recognizes development is a right, as a process is a right of the citizens. Right of the citizens. And what is development? I'm not going into the detail, but very brief. The development is, I think the briefest possible definition could be, one can easily contest that idea also anything, that it is a change. It's a desirable change. Desirable change. Not really physical change, only arbitrary. And what is the meaning of the word change? I used to call it, there are two aspects. Two aspects, that is material and non-material changes. Material changes, this township is an example. All the rurality has been vanished. There is a progress from rural to urban development. This is a material change which you can see, which you can feel, which you can gaze, which you can identify, document, put it on record. And there are also parts of non-material change. You can call it spiritual. I prefer the word non-material. It is cultural. Already in the earlier session, the term has been referred to. It's a cultural change. My idea. Superstition, for example, hinders development process. Okay? So this idea, this non-material part of development is, that's why you see there are different aspects, different dimensions of development. What development exactly is. If you go through that 1986 document, of the United Nations, I think that is all such relevant. This is an updated document at 1986, and it covers more or less, all relevant facets of this concept and this idea. Now, is it a right question? Definitely it's a right. No. What is the responsibility of the state in a democratic state? Democratic states. Undertaking development, identifying problem areas, undertaking development programs, and its implementation. That is definitely responsibility of the state. Responsibility of the state. So it is the responsibility of the state. Responsible to whom? Committed to whom? Definitely a Republican system, like ours. State is definitely accountable. It must be committed to the citizens. It has no other business other than, undertaking, serving the people, serving the citizens. In that case, development is a responsibility, primary responsibility of the state, the government. So state is accountable for that. That is the responsibility of the state. So if it's a question of the state citizenry interfacing, you see, it is the responsibility of the state to provide, undertake development programs for the benefit of its citizens. Now the question is basically, you see, you can refer to Professor Amartya Sen's idea of development as freedom, and coming into that later. But the question is, very basic question is, I can refer to Nora Goebler's concept of development journalism. I'm very fond of that idea that development journalism is not government say-so journalism. It is not pro-government journalism. The point is, it is a kind of journalism. It's a school of journalism that serves the readers, the citizens. So see or watch or scrutinize, interpret development from the perspective of the citizens. That is all about development journalism. So development journalism is definitely part of, professional journalism. It is not, like peer activities and government bulletins. So independent journalism and professional media, independent media, has responsibility to intervene in this sphere. So development journalism is not like, it's a different kind of journalism. It's other than professional journalism. That's the wrong concept. It's the late 1960s, development communication related researches. 1960s is the period when the concept of development communication and role of media in development process became most prominent. You know that the book of Mass Media National Development, West Bengal, 1963-64, was published by the UNESCO. And a trendsetter. Later on, the dominant paradigm theory is that media itself can't make any change, do or undo. That was initiated in 1960s, the reign of dominant paradigm theory and development of it. That speaks of, emphasizes the role of the citizens. Role of the citizens. So this added importance on the role of the citizens in the development process, makes a space for journalistic intervention to be specific. So, role of journalism, the importance of journalism is a free and independent journalism that can really contribute to development journalism. That's the concept. Now you see why this freedom of the press is so important in development journalism also. Because why we are interested in freedom of the press? Why are we so concerned with freedom of the press? Why freedom of the press is so important in a democracy? Because of only one reason, that free press contributes to important, the basic issue is right to information in a democratic society. Whether you have access to source of information, whether you can store information, whether you can decipher information package, whether you can send information, whether you can analyze information. You know, access to information, that is right to information. Two aspects more or less, right to be informed and right to inform. You know. Access to information, for what for? Why do we need access to source of information? Because I can then disseminate information, and that makes the flow of information that is. So, why this is important? Because you know because information, the role of the citizen is important because it is the participation of the citizens. From the perspective of the government, you see, service provider, you see, you have to make participation, you have to ensure participation of the people. That is not just benevolence part of the government, no. Until unless citizens participate in the process, you can't really implement, can't really execute a development project. Okay, so for the development, completion of the, execution of the development process itself, the role of participation of the citizens is important. Now, active participation of citizens, you see, participation can only be active participation. You can't participate in a passive way. So, how to activate, motivate people to participate? The basic logic is make them informed. If you don't have access to information, you can't. So information can activate. Information not only informs, it activates, enables, builds capabilities. Professor Shen is so concerned with the term capabilities. Why freedom? Freedom makes you capable. Capable, that's the relation, you know. So information activates you and motivates you because you're informed. So informed and citizenry only can intervene, can participate, which is a decisively important point in the development process. So it is not the government's favors its citizens, no, for the sustenance of the system itself, sustenance of the system, not for the success or for anything, any added value, no, very basic. For the sustenance of the system and the process, you have to motivate people's participation, ensure people's participation, citizens' participation. That's the importance of, dissemination of information. So journalism, media's role in this respect is important. So who can contribute to, I have already referred to, that the role of independent media is important because it really contributes to the information process. Free circulation of information because, independent media has its own specific importance or relevance in the system. What is that specific relevance? Because, in case of information, whether flow or for the processing, whatever it may be, when you talk of information, what bothers us most, that is credibility. Isn't it? It's credibility. If the source is not credible, it is the source of information, that's a very, very important issue. The importance of free media is that as a source of information, it has credibility to the audience, to the citizens. It adds value. So what is the source of information? That's a very important issue. And if the source is independent, then that independence makes it credible. So as a credible source of information, role of independent media is that we can underline the role of independent media. development journalism, this right to information, is it right? Yes, definitely right. It's a part of human right. It is the right of the citizens to take part in the process. It can seek information from the state or the authority. You can analyze information. You can share information. So, from the perspective of right to information, you see, in the development process, citizens have definitely right to be informed all about the project, all about the program. If state does not provide information, then it doesn't like participation of the citizens. And it then denies the right of the citizens. So, government should, the development agency should, for its sustenance, for its success, should accept or respect this right of the citizens. Right of the citizens, because that is a factor, one of the most important factors for its execution. And then comes from, you see, the concept of right to communicate. It is not just right to information, also right to communicate. Is it different from right to information? No. In this subject, you see, we are underlining the importance of people's participation, citizens' participation in the development process. Participation is a multi-stage, multi-dimensional concept. But from that perspective, so is it different, right to information or right to communicate? Is there any difference? Definitely any difference. You see, our Constitution, Article 91A, what it recognizes? It recognizes right to freedom of speech and expression. Only right to freedom of speech and expression. Right to inform. To be specific, right to inform, right to disseminate information. I have information, I can share it with others. That is all about right to freedom of speech and expression. It's actually a right. Right to freedom, part of the fundamental right. In Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, also you see, that has been recognized. But you don't have right to be informed. You have in the Constitution, no. It's a natural corollary, you see. So, right to information, you see, that is not part of our constitutional right. It is based on Right to Information Act 2005. It is not a fundamental right, because fundamental rights is a constitutionally guaranteed right of this. But right to information emanates from Article 91 in a sense. In a sense. Because if you recognize, if a system recognizes right to freedom of speech and expression, how can it be repugnant to the concept of right to be informed? You should give access to source of information. It can't. It should not do that. If you accept right to inform is important, please follow keenly right to inform. Then you must act a right to be informed. So right to be informed and right to inform, two aspects of the right to information. Okay, if you accept right to inform, my right to share information with others, you must give me access to source of information. If right of access to source of information is denied, how can I exercise my right to freedom of speech and expression? That's the point. But please don't forget, right to information is part of legal right. This is on 2005 Act. But what about right to communicate? Constitution gives you right to inform. Constitution accepts right of access to source of information. But you don't have any right to inform the policymakers. Policymakers are not, duty bound to listen to you. You can compel any community policymaker to listen to you. You have right to freedom of speech and expression. To whom? To whom? That's the question. If you can't, as a citizen, compel policymakers or service providers or to the state to be specific, to leave your patient hearing, at least to consider whether positively or not positively, that's a different story, to your idea. Then what's the use of having right to freedom of right to access to source of information and right to freedom of speech and expression? So actually, right to communicate, underlines the a new, more important, concept. That is when a system accommodates or accepts citizens' participation in the process. Citizens' participation in the process. Participation in the what? What is the meaning of the term participation here? How can a people take part in the process, development process, until and unless he can, he or she is not consulted at least at 3 levels. What are these 3 levels? At the time of, decision making. That this is the project that should be, implemented, undertaken. The very first level. Then it's implementation process. If citizens are not consulted at the second levels, then it is not, allowing people to participate. So it's a 3-pronged, project, idea, that the policy making, implementation, and also evaluation of the project. That's why citizens' participation at least at these 3 levels. That is I'm talking of. So decision making, implementation, and that review of the project. Whether it is successful, or whether it is effective, whether it is that will be useful to the citizens or not. That is, who review the documents of the government? It is the citizens. So that what it actually recognizes then you are not just giving your citizen right to inform, but right to be listened to. So when a citizen or citizenry is allowed to share information and can compel the policymakers to listen to them and considering their viewpoints, then it actually makes this Article 92, right to inform, right to be informed, and right to communicate meaningful in true sense of the term. So there lies the importance of right to communicate. Right to communicate, what we often say, that freedom of speech and expression, our constitutionally guaranteed freedom is, it's a first generation right. And then right to information is what is actually right of access to source of information is a second generation right. And right to communicate is a third generation right. So it's always a further from. Article 9 to know, then right to inform is further from. It's a progress, forward movement. And then right to communicate is also further from, right to information. I often say in my class. So, most important right that should be taken into consideration in this discourse, that is right to communicate. So actually, in the development process, we have to keep it in mind, in principle, that citizens whose participation is decisively important in implementing the project, importance of all individual citizens. It is a citizen. It is not on the basis of status, not on the amounts of his disposable money he or she has, not on the basis of his caste, creed. It's very universal, it's very democratic as far as possible. Constitution recognizes the importance of all citizens, each and every citizens. That's why it is based on this concept of equality and freedom. But market is basically inherently sectorial because it recognizes only a person who has more amount of disposable money. Your importance as a consumer in the market is all about, you may be a good citizen, but you may not be a good consumer. Yes, that's why we are so fond of window shopping, isn't it? So, constitution is, based on equality, but market is not. If you leave it only to the market, without any sort of rational and progressive and democratic intervention by the state, then it will achieve nothing. That's a different question. So, the role of the media, independent media development journalism. Then how to translate this concept into action, you see. So it's about right to development, because it's state's responsibility. It's about right to information. It's about right to freedom of sharing information. It's about right to communicate, which are all important rights in a society committed to pursue the path of development and project of development for the citizens. Development can't be anything but, for the citizens. Now, if this is the principles, then how to translate into action in ground level, journalistic practices? That's the most important question, I think, in our subject. This is the policy, this is the approach. The point is, whether journalism or whether media, media within this system, how far it is possible to decide its own style of journalism. I personally believe there are problems, there are shortcomings, there are push and pull of different types, but a society which is democratic is basically based on the awareness of the citizens. Citizens' informed and enlightened role and capacity to intervene in the society. It has immense value in the system. Our media house, which seeks to pursue an alternative path, even in the market dynamics, can contribute a lot. I don't know the end of it. I'm not interested in it. But the scope of development journalism, despite many obstacles, is definitely there. And it is possible to a great extent, despite all the limitations and hindrances, to contribute substantially as possible. You see the project undertaken by Calcutta Press Club and also this university, all of you. So many people are interested in it. So that is also a force in the market also. Of course. So independent journalism, which is so important in case of development journalism, I want to emphasize on this subject specifically. All sorts of professional journalism is basically, somewhere other, subtext of this concept, independent journalism, professional journalism, but specifically because you have to analyze the role of you have to critically analyze the role of development journalism can't be anything but from the perspective of citizens. You have to look into it, you have to watch it, you have to observe it, you have to interpret it from the perspective of the citizens. Whether a project is successful or not, who's to judge? Only the citizens have to judge. They are the beneficiaries. Personally, I don't use the term beneficiaries because it speaks of government is as if as a benevolent government. But there is a responsibility of the government. There's no question of benevolence. So, in communication process, the textbook, very first textbook, in first year of the honors course, sender and receiver, isn't it? The sender of information, the receiver of information. The poor, privileged sender and the poor receiver. If they do not share their places, at regular interval, then who are at the mercy of the sender, receiver, the poor receiver of this. So the beneficiaries are there at the mercy of the government. No, that's not the question. That's the right. That's the most important issue. So you have to see the development projects from the perspective of the citizens. Your commitment to citizens. Otherwise you can't see it, analyze it, report it. Rather. It should not sound more theoretical, in practical journalism. So you can't report it if you don't see it. So in your, suppose you have to write a report, then you have to take into consideration mostly, or definitely, opinion of the government sources as source of information has due role to play, but whether the project is beneficial for the society or not, who is to judge? That's the common people. Only then you are translating. This is the way of translating the policy of communication right and information right. Those are the policies, normative understanding issues. After you see what is normative theory of the place, 4 theories of the place. I think all of you know that. I'm just helping you to recollect. The Dennis Maxwell's mass communication theory. You see, it is not 4 theory of the place anymore. It is 2 new theories has been added with adequate expansion also. That is development communication theory and democratic participant theory. That recognizes also, that is basically democratic participant theory is based on right to communicate. Right to communicate. You are sharing information. You are sharing your opinion. You are giving judgment. So modern media in today, particularly in the field of development, communication is a broader framework also. Development journalism is always part of it. That's the working part. Development journalism, the responsibility is to see the development, judge the development, analyze the process, analyze the role of the government also from the perspective of the citizens. But ultimately, you see, I personally think independent journalism is independent journalism. It can't be committed to the government, it can't be committed to the citizens. Absolute terms, not at all. You are committed to only your profession. In journalism. That should not be forgotten. Advocacy journalism, that's very good now, but we are not so used to a conversation with the normal and common readers and audience. They don't like it at all. So professional journalism is, in a sense, non-committal journalism. You can definitely practice it in development journalism, but keeping it in mind. So development journalism definitely can be judged from the perspective of the rights issue, citizens' right. It is ultimately the citizens, and definitely a people-centric development journalism is, the need of the hour. It is also people's citizens' right. Citizens' right to have a democratic or professional and people-centric development journalism. How do we find it? The most beautiful part of the story is it defies any specific definition, isn't it? That's the best part of it. Let us develop it together. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your delightful speech on development journalism. I'd like to request the present audience if they would have any questions to sir. Anyone, please?
Yes, my name is Dr. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Just I want to know one clarification that there is we call propaganda journalism and the development journalism What is the basic difference between these two? Because in example, in our state presently which goes on Lakshmi Mandar, I personally asked few women who are getting 500 rupees and said yes, it's good for them. But in rich society, they are saying it's a loss of government exchequer and this is quote unquote khairati. How do you think that, how could I interpret that this is a development or non-development? What is the parameter in between this? There is a propaganda and development. Is there any basic difference?
Actually, I'm going to respond to that part of that, I should not comment on any specific projects of the government. But I can't actually in this class. You see, development journalism is definitely not propaganda. That's not a popular concept, I think. It's not government says so journalism. Government is not the only source. You are not, following the project, following the process from the perspective of the government at all. Don't do it. Why not? Because you are critical of the government? No. Development projects, whatever it may be, there is a wrong idea of the policymaker sometimes. And if you want to implement it in true sense of the term, you have to accept. It is safe also. The principle that until and unless participation of the stakeholders are ensured, you can't implement it. It is not for the sake of the people. No, it is for the sake of the government. Allow people to participate. Only then you can make it possible. Make it done. The government must behave wisely. And that is not giving any privilege to the citizens. Not at all. If you accept that this is the right, you are a very practical person, you are a wise person. Until and unless you allow them to participate, you can't implement it. It is your problem, your issue. It is for the sake of your interest. You please allow democratic participation. Otherwise, you are not doing development journalism. Doing development. You are just misleading your citizens. You are not responsibilities. What has been assigned to you by the system. Okay? So it can't be propaganda. Because people does not allow propaganda for long. Propaganda, maybe government can, undertake projects or pursue that line kind of, I don't know what they are doing actually. But the media, why media? Media should not, indulge in any sort of pro-government quote unquote. No, there is no question of propaganda. If the performance is good, you have to write it good. Because you are also answerable to the citizens. Citizens actually take their decision from their own experience. It is not because of your propaganda or their propaganda. They always judge it with their day-to-day experience. If they are benefited, you can't force them to see it otherwise, or tell it otherwise, or explain it otherwise, interpret it otherwise. Your day-to-day practical experience is very important and decisively important thing. Don't bluff them, don't try to befool them for long. Keep faith on democracy. That is the strength of democracy. Okay? So, it is in your own interest you must have a participation. Otherwise, you can pursue any development process. For that is your responsibility. Your task assigned to by the people in the election. I don't believe development journalism. Maybe, is it a part of mainstream journalism? I said it should be part of professional journalism, but it's part of mainstream journalism. To be precise, mainstream newspapers, mainstream channels, are they doing anything? That's a different question. I'm not going into that. But you see, it is definitely, you can make it acceptable in the present market dynamics also. Because there are, people, a large section of the people who can be interested in ability also. I personally think there are many people who are doing this, contributing to this process. Okay, that is possible. There is no possibility I don't believe it. That is definitely possible. So from that perspective, I think it can't be propaganda. Don't indulge in propaganda, because propaganda is not communication. You are not respecting your audience. Okay, that is my point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind response to the query. We are hereby just halting it for the lunch to the next building. You all are requested to move to that place, to the VC's Hall of Conference. Thank you, everyone.